Now that you've gotten a glimpse into these books, will you be adding these to your homeschool curriculum?
Absolutely not.
Okay. During the pandemic, JD and Natalie Mangrum made the hard choice to take their two sons out of the public school system and homeschool them instead. In the time since they've started homeschooling, more and more troubling news has been coming out of American public schools. News of children being taught about sex and sexuality from as early as pre-K, of parents being dragged out of school board meetings for asking tough questions, and stories of girls being seriously injured when boys are forced onto their sports teams. I spoke with JD and Natalie at their home in Boston, where JD serves as lead pastor in a neighborhood Baptist church. All right, guys, thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
So there are a lot of crazy things going on in America's schools right now. You may have heard about them in the news, but I want to start with what's going on right here in your own home.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about how you decided to start homeschooling your boys.
Yeah.
We call it Mangrum Academy. We have our own logo and everything, so we went all in. But I think we just decided to homeschool during COVID. It was just online school was going on forever, it seemed. So one kid was fine, one kid was not thriving in that scenario. So it's something I've always thought about doing. But then we've always been on two separate pages about that. So when he came to me and was like, I think we need a homeschool, it was like, oh my gosh, I think it's the right time. So.
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a public school educator for almost 4 decades, and so I'm a big believer in how public school can work because that's what I grew up in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it did seem like pandemic online school was never going to end, and like Nat said, one of our boys wasn't doing as well in it, and then we also just felt like when it did go back, what was it going to be like, and how long would it take to be normal, and would even that be conducive for our sons?
Mm-hmm.
And so, for us, it was just rooted in, what was going to be best for our kids and their education.
Yeah.
Huh. What did they think of it?
I mean, at first they loved it, of course, because it's like, I don't have to get up in the morning. I can do, school in my pajamas, that whole thing. So they were totally on board. And we had said from the beginning, we're going to take this by year by year. This is not saying this is it. We're doing this forever. We're just going to every year reassess and see, is this still what's the best for them? Yeah. So this is our third. We just started school this week, and this will be our third full year of homeschool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So what grades are they in?
Our oldest is in 9th, and our youngest is in 6th.
Oh, so you have a few more years to go if you choose to stay on this path.
That's right.
All right. So what are the ups and downs? What are the goods and the good, the bad, and the ugly?
I mean, so this year we started them in a 1 day a week co-op. So 1 day a week they go to a classical conversations group, which is nice because it allows our oldest to have more interaction with other kids his age, which that was one of the drawbacks is they weren't getting enough time with their peers. And so we feel like we've kind of addressed that, for this year. The pluses on it, it was a much more condensed, refined day. Even with the co-op, it's that way. The drawback was, she's the judge, jury, and executioner. So if the inmates are upset, they're going to let you know.
Yeah.
And so there would be days I would come home and she would just be like, I have to go get a coffee 5 minutes ago. And it would be, it would be serious time. And so we had to have some, conversations like, guys, I know this is your mom. I also know this is a short order cook a couple times a day. This is also the teacher and the principal. So we got to figure out a way to make this work. And
that's a lot. I try not to complain about it because it is a privilege to be able to stay home. Not everybody can do that. And I do know people who would choose to homeschool if they could. So I don't want to complain because it's like, it is my job as a parent. But it does feel like, oh, wow, I was farming some of that responsibility off of myself with school or whatever, and now I don't get to do that. I don't get to, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it is, you have to be so intentional, and it's hard. So I'm a very not a structured person. I like being spontaneous. Which is something with homeschool that I do like. We can switch it up. We can travel to see family. We can, whatever. But it's a balance. So
Right. So and your job as a pastor, you're also a teacher.
Yeah, I
Do
mean,
you see are there
definitely.
parallels now that you're both kind of in the same profession too?
Yeah, I mean, maybe like I think she's probably in that sense like, we both can probably, agree just on the formation of a human being and, that you're trying to like as a pastor, I think sometimes people think like, oh, I want to see my soul shaped, but kind of, my mind or my habits or my finances or my relationships or whatever, like we can kind of separate those things and so the same with Natalie. It's like she can't separate. It's all like we're all one person, right? And so even here at the house, it's like she's operating with multiple hats with our boys, and we've all got to learn to think as like this is one thing. It's not like we're separating off all these things. And so I think maybe that's part of it.
yeah.
Yeah. It seems like you guys have fallen into a groove though. And
Yes. Took a while. But yes. Still learning. I'm learning a ton. If they don't learn anything, I've learned a ton. So
well, it kind of brings me. There are these myths. I'm sure you've heard them about
Absolutely.
homeschooling,
Sure.
and there's a few going around. One of them is parents are not qualified to teach.
Yep.
I'm sure you felt that some days. Did you or
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with it? What advice would you give to somebody that is hung up on that particular myth?
I think even just, yes, a myth or a stigma of like homeschoolers are weird and parents are weird. Kids are just mimicking their parents. So I'm like, you know what? I think you can feel really misunderstood. I can. Or you worry about what people are thinking, like maybe she's not qualified to teach her kids, because I have known people who shouldn't be homeschooling their kids. But the amount of resources that are out there is really crazy.
That's true.
So we have found so many things that I'm like, I actually think I like this better than public school. Not everything, it's definitely a mix and match for us, but I'm like, I think this is a whole complete education. I don't think I'm doing my kids a disservice at all.
Yeah, I think I would even add two things to that. One, like, I think public school educators are incredible. Like, to think about with all the things in 2023 that kids are going through and families are going through, and these people who went to college for 4 years, not to be psychologists, not to be, all of these different things, social service workers, and they're trying to educate kids and have to deal with all the complexity that comes with that, right? Like, that's incredible. What teacher went to school for 4 years or 7 years for that level of competency, right? So in a sense, like, they're not I think you just look and you go, everybody's competent if they'll put the work in and you're willing to fight for it, right? Like Natalie said, there's resources out there, but if you go, I don't feel quite competent enough to do this, competent people are willing to help you, and they've put the resources out there to help you. And so the only other thing I would say, I think as a society, and this is like macro level and I don't want to get preachy here, but I think we've gotten, and you referenced it, like really comfortable saying, I'm going to leave it to the public school to teach my kids a lot, or the private school or the Christian school or whatever. And it's like, no, they're just a tool. They ought to be just a tool for our society, but parents ought to be the ones who are teaching their kids. Like everything, in our opinion, I think the parents ought to be kind of the guardians of the gate on how my kids learn to think and how they see the world and how they love others and all of those things. So anyway.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think there are a lot of parents actually out there right now fighting with school boards because they're being locked out of schools and told that that's not their role necessarily. That the government knows better to teach the kids what to think and how to be moral than the parents do, and it's really creating a lot of tension in the country. I'm sure you see some of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see some.
Yeah,
of
one
it.
thing we say a lot. So we were actually talking with somebody else this morning. It's like, we want to teach our children how to think, and whoever's educating our children, whether it's church or school or us, even the things we let them watch, consume online or in the media. It's like we've got like I'm not so interested in everybody trying to teach my kids what to think. Even myself, I want to teach them how to think and learn to think critically about what they believe and what they understand. So we've come to believe that it's somebody's job to teach us what to think and not just how to think.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's really good. The you know, let's switch to schools and some of the stuff that's going on in schools. Um, the Human Rights Council, which has a very nice name, sounds like it would be a noble effort to protect human rights. They have educational materials in all 50 states, and starting, from kindergarten, they are actively teaching children to question their gender identity, and that they don't have to be a boy. You may be born in a boy's body, but you may have been born in the wrong body. You may actually be a girl, and so on. And they have loads of books around that and around sexuality that are going down from 4-year-olds. But when you get to middle and high schools, there are some, what I think are just, little wild, some of the materials, things that I don't necessarily think children need to see. Are you guys familiar with either of these books? Have you heard of them?
I do feel like I've heard of this one, but I have not actually seen it until today.
Yeah, this is Gender Queer, and this one is Let's Talk About It. It's a teen's guide to a lot of interesting things. I can show you, if it's okay with you, a few. You're welcome to look through them. But now, I'm gonna apologize in advance for what I'm about to show you. I mean it.
Okay.
Because some of the things are a little bit racy. So there's a chapter in Let's Talk About It entitled "What Are Kinks, Fantasies, and Porn?" And I just wonder, I'm not showing you anything too graphic here. This is just the chapter. We're going to start soft. How you would feel about a librarian or a teacher talking with your 11-year-old in middle school?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's tough. I mean,
No.
yeah, that'd be tough.
I mean, yeah, my kids are not so sheltered that they don't know of things. But it's hard because, I do have boys as well, so I'm not necessarily the person they're wanting to talk to. But we always try to make it like, you can come talk to us. It's not like you're going to be in trouble if you see something or hear something that you don't know about. But even some things that have come across in this house, I'm like, okay, you don't actually know some of the things that I feel like some people at this age do know. And I'm thankful for that. I'm like, I want you to stay little as long as you can. Like, if you seem uncool or you seem sheltered, yeah. I'm okay with that. That's okay.
Right.
The world's going to come at you full force eventually. So I do feel like it's our job not to shelter them, but to protect them. Sure. They're kids.
Okay. All right. So then if maybe they came across this is a story about a couple who was dating and they're texting each other. And so these are the texts between them. And then the next photo is what happened when they finally got together after the text. Here, you want to take a moment to look at that? I can pop it up on the screen for the people who are watching.
Oh, gosh.
I'm very sorry about what you're about to see.
I'm scared. OMG.
Wow.
No. I would be heartbroken. That's a mom.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll just go one more. How far should I go? Want me to just give you the worst one? Well, it's not even the worst one.
That wasn't bad enough. Oh man.
I'm not going to give you the worst one that I have with me. Believe it or not, the one I'm about to hand you isn't the worst one. If a librarian or a teacher told you that they were going to have this conversation with your kid.
Gosh. Wow.
Yeah. All right, that's all you have to say about that. I'm never going to be invited back into the pastor house again. And
which book was that?
That second one was Let's Talk About It.
Okay.
In Gender Queer, there is also a reference to a website called kink.com. which is a hardcore S&M website, and every kid in America also has a smartphone in their hand.
Sure.
And when you see a website, you're going to look it up. So things like that are being put in front of kids, and parents are flipping out. Now they're being pulled out of a lot of schools. I love this cat. They are being pulled out of a lot of schools. They've been pulled out of a few dozen schools and removed officially. They're being called book bans. But these are parents who are saying this isn't what I'm sending my kid to school for.
Right.
But there are over 13,250 school districts that haven't taken a formal stance on it. So it's only a drop in the bucket so far. Do you think that kids, generally speaking, are developmentally ready to have those conversations with each other?
No. No.
Well, I mean, so I think our kids are not, and it would be our conviction that most people's kids are not, but they think they are, and obviously we live in a society that is like over sexualized and highly values that, you know, and so most kids think they are, and you know, I won't say more than that, but yeah, my kids are not.
No.
Good. I hope good for you. So now that you've gotten a glimpse into these books, will you be adding these to your homeschool curriculum?
Absolutely not.
Okay. You know, the truth is, though, you know, a lot of people say that kids can jump on their phone or their iPad and see this stuff at any point easily. So it's better for them to see it in school. What do you say to that?
I think I don't fully know how to answer that. I think I would have to sit with that one for a minute, honestly. But I think public educators have, you want to believe that the people in your community who have historically been there to serve and protect are going to continue to do so, right? So you want to believe that of public educators. I certainly do. I don't believe that would have made it into the elementary school where our kids went. We had a great elementary school experience when our kids were in public school in Boston, right? I don't want to believe that there are like creepy, evil pastors out there. I don't want to believe that there are bad firefighters, first responders, police officers. But I mean, we don't live in a world where everyone is safe and trustworthy. So I think what I would say is I do believe that the majority of educators, right, just want what's best for kids. And I would hope people would give me the same benefit of the doubt as a pastor, right? But we also need to take off the rose-colored glasses that would say that everybody's trustworthy just because they are in this role, right? I think I wouldn't say more. I wouldn't say more than that. I don't know if you would.
No, I mean, things like this, like sex education, is a different thing than this type of thing. I remember having to take that in high school and a parent permission slip going home. So I'm like, if that's something where parents get the option to say, I think my kid is at an age where they should learn this, could learn, I trust whoever is doing this. I think I'm like, well, that's even a different story than if parents are being totally blindsided.
Right.
And no option, no choice.
That's good.
And they've already learned it, and then they come home and they're like, what in the world are you talking about? That's not okay.
There are some school districts where they have taken away the opt-out option.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother, that's more of a political discussion to me, even it is an education discussion. But, I would hope that, sane thinking parents who want to protect their kids would do their privileges and duties we have as people living in a democracy and would fight to have those people removed. That's how democratic government works, is you speak your voice, you speak your mind, and you seek to remove people who you think are doing a poor job.
Right. I just want people to know it's out there.
No, I think that's good.
And then if they know and they decide that this is right for children, then I will just have to live in disagreement with that forever, and that's fine. Sure. But I think that parents need to know, because the more people I show this to, the more people I say, you're kidding me. This is not really available in schools. And they're very shocked by it, most people. But, you talking about how it has gotten political. It seems up until about 5 minutes ago, there was universal agreement that it was a virtue to protect the innocence of children. And we have gotten so far from that. But, as Christians, fellow us, like, what can we do, honestly, to preserve innocence and purity in our society?
Pastor.
Go ahead. I mean, I think we are. Gosh, I don't want to get into like a mini sermon here. I know you only have so much time on the tape, but I don't think this was ever like this is not a Christian nation, right? Like, it was founded on Christian principles, to be sure, but it's not like we've always been a Christian nation. I don't know that I don't think such a thing can even exist, right? So I think we, first of all, should not be surprised when we see things that are immoral and bad. And like, one, it starts at home for us. So living out values based on that are based on our faith and teaching our children the value of that. We can't force them to even believe it, but modeling it, teaching it, instructing it, and then living it. And hopefully in this society, in our city that we love, living it in such a way that people would go, I don't agree with you, but I see that you're consistent and I see that you believe what you say you believe, and I respect you. And then, when we can stand up for things, I think we do, but I think we lead more by like being known by what we're for, even than what we're against. I think if we do that, we become a more compelling people.
Yeah, that's good advice. I'll try to remember that.
Yes.
No, but there are some things you do have to stand against.
Yeah.
But I think in society, so I think Christians have been known more by what they're against than what they're for. But if we can lead with like, these are the things we're for these things, and these are beautiful and good things, and we can agree. Then in the moment when we do have to say, but this we're against because this is evil and destructive, then I think we come off a little less, I think we're a little more compelling, and we create more curiosity in people who would tend to just not understand what it means to follow Christ in 2023.
Right. Yeah. So as a pastor, would you add anything if you were talking to your congregation and you're giving parents advice about how to navigate this? Is that pretty much it, or what would you add to it? Maybe there's more in the Bible on this that I'm a beginner. I don't know what's in there.
I thought you were going to answer all the questions here.
Was that the agreement?
I think one of I think one of the things we've been telling our church a lot lately, Elena, is if you follow Jesus, you're a 2-passport person. And so that means the Bible talks about how our citizenship is in heaven. Whatever that ultimately means, it means that we have 2 passports. We have a passport for the country where we live, and we have a passport that says we have a different king. He has a different constitution. His country, the people of God, operate kind of by a different set of values. And as long as this passport holds more value in my heart than this passport, then I'm fine to learn to live well in this area. So we're trying to just help our friends here in Boston, here in Charlestown, understand, like, fight for the good, fight for the welfare, the prosperity, the peace of this place where we hold this passport that we love, but understand this is our values, this is our king, this is our constitution. If this doesn't feel like home because it's in moral decay, that's what it's going to do. But this is home, and we live out these values in the midst of living in this place. Is that okay? Is that an okay
That's
answer?
Awesome.
I deeply believe that.
That is an awesome answer, and it really, I feel really like enlightened actually by it, because now I never thought I was a dual passport.
So we're never shocked. Like, I'm never, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, I'm not surprised by my king has a different set of values. So I'm good with however bad or good it gets over here.
All right, well, guys, I wanted to just say thank you so much for letting us into your home and having this conversation. It's personal for you. This project is personal for me. So,
man, we love you.
Yeah.
We miss you living here.
Too.
We love you. Super proud of what you're doing, and even more just of what God's doing in your life.
Yeah.
We miss you.
Thank you. Well, I just keep popping in.
I know.
Right? So
Always
I did
understanding
back in
invite.
December. I popped in. I'm here again, and you're always so welcoming. You're living. You're Yeah, you're great examples for me. So thank you again. All right.
Absolutely.